deep in the furnace of a dying star. Eons of fusion have created iron, and as the nuclear furnace is cooled, a sudden and violent explosion spread the iron across the cosmos. Over the next few billion years, these heavier elements accreted into this place that we call the Earth. Time passes, and humans discover this iron deep in the Earth and discover its mystical properties. They discover ways of forging this iron and create one of mankind's greatest inventions, the truckstop knife. This is where the story of iron ends, and my story begins. This is JJJinks Truckstop Knives! JJJinks Truckstop DINES? In this video, I'm going to put some knives to the test. Now, normally I pull out a bunch of knives, I show them to you, I talk a little bit about them, but I've never actually tested any of them out. So I'm going to do that in this video. Normally, what people like to do is they go out into the woods, they do some bush crafting, they cut up sticks, they try to start a fire, they chop some wood, they do all these kinds of things. But it's a little cold outside, and it's nighttime. So I'm going to refrain from doing that, and instead, I'm going to be preparing food with these knives. So, without further ado, let's go to the kitchen. Next, I'm going to be cutting up some onions, peppers, and tomatoes I'll be using for various things. The tomatoes will go into some eggs along with the pepper after I saute them. And the onion, I'm going to make quite a bit of these because I do need to use some for the shepherd's pie. And these are just your standard yellow onions. And so I'll start with the onions. And for these, I'm going to be using the Master's Collection Cultural Appropriation Knife. It's got the Indian chief up here and a dangly thing of beads on the bottom. It is almost offensive. This knife has a major flaw to it. It is open assisted. The blade is pretty long and actually kind of sharp. Problem is that when it's closed, the blade stop doesn't really stop it in time for part of the blade collides with the spacer. So I could move the blade and you can hear it scraping in there. It is a spine-chilling sound. Here we go. Okay, that's not too bad actually. I kind of expected that this knife would actually cut pretty well. And, oh wait a minute, I think I might have spoken too soon. That one had a little more resistance to it. So, hopefully the Native Americans had something a little bit better to use when they prepare their food. All right, so we got our first onion kind of skinned there. And I'm just gonna dive right in. So, the onion that I'm gonna use for the eggs, I'm gonna wanna cut into pretty small pieces. So my strategy is to kind of cut these semicircular wedges. It's going through there pretty well, actually. Once you kind of get it started, it goes. Okay, and then I'm going to kind of go crosswise. Okay. And it's a little bit awkward. I do better with the actual knives that are intended for this purpose, but that wasn't really excruciating. And there we have it. Our first pile of oniony goodness. I might as well make them this size for the shepherd's pie too. And I can saute them all together. Well, this is actually going rather well. It's actually kind of boring. So why don't we switch it up a bit? For the next onion, I will use the Dragon's Fury. This knife, if you haven't seen the video, well, you're about to become intimately acquainted with this, my finest piece of Mall Ninja tat. It is a 5-bladed monstrosity that is definitely not intended for use of anything, really. I mean, there's really only one way that you can do this. All the blades have to be opened. Okay. Next onion. Okay. This is, I'm gonna hurt myself, I think. See, I'm having trouble already because of the I just can't like slice anything. I sort of have to scrape it, and my thumb is precariously close to a blade. But you know, I'm gonna persevere through this for you. I'm not gonna try slicing. I'm just gonna stab through and then do like a circular motion. Yeah, there we go. Got that started. Okay. We survived so far. And I just got this little nub on the other side that I might as well leave there. I don't think I can get to it. For the next cut, I'm going to switch to the next blade. I'm going for it. Okay. I actually managed to kind of slice through it. All right. It's a little messy, but got the job done. There's a little bit of hardened skin there at the top. All right. Now what? Switch to the next blade. I'm going to use all 5 blades before the night is through. I normally cut it the other way. I just kind of got excited and wanted to get right into it. Okay. So I've kind of cut it partially. Keep going. Oh wow, that was rough. I sort of had to pull it the rest of the way through. Yeah. Okay. Next blade. Let's get rid of that. And the skin. Okay. I'm not entirely sure how to tackle this. I guess I'll just... There's the oven. Preheating. I'm trying to be very careful not to get in the path of this thing. Oh, it is so close to my finger. Oh. Made it. Now I'm gonna go crosswise. This is really not good. Oh, that one was better. I don't really usually have this much trouble with onion. But I usually don't use 5-bladed Ninja Star knives. Okay, this is just like this is awful. Wow. Well, I'm gonna pick up what I can for now, and then try to sort of cut the rest. Okay. Well, I mean, I got some of these pieces like mostly there, so yeah, that will do. Wow. What a lot of work for just one onion. Okay, this kind of scraping motion sort of works. That counts, right? Okay. That wasn't even one onion. That was a half of one. Here we go again. Actually, it's a bit rough, but I can sort of push the onion through it, or at least apply force in both directions, and then it's like, maybe I spoke too soon. It was a little bit okay, but now it's getting rough again. It's just a shame to see such a terrible job being done cutting an onion. Okay. What a mess. Whatever. After they're cooked, I guess it won't matter that much, right? I mean, boy. I'm calling it. That onion's done. Okay, now, I think for the next onion, I'm gonna switch it up again. Maybe I'll clean this later, or maybe I won't. For this onion, I'm gonna go to an old friend. The Red Guardian, which I'd said earlier that I was going to clean it off because it's got some strange stuff on it, but that adds to the flavor, right? So here we go. This is really awkward because of the way that the blade is like tanto. So I don't know if I should go from this angle or like this. Let me try it that way. Wow, that is rough. I mean, it got through. It did. Oh. That was more of like a scrape than a cut. The Red Guardian truly is a masterpiece of horrible design. It's, I don't know if anyone's ever actually used one for anything, let alone preparing food. If you have a Red Guardian and you have used it for something, I'd be interested to know how it went. And yeah, that didn't cut that part very well at all, but we are going to continue. Now, this is a pretty big knife, and I'm just gonna try to do this quickly. Okay, that worked. Okay. Wow, it is so rough. Hopefully, whatever's on this blade is something that my liver can filter out of my system later. If I appear in my next video jaundiced, it may or may not be the booze. It could be some kind of heavy metal poisoning. Or maybe SARS. Well, now it's slicing. Okay. Slicing like this. Once you sort of get it going, and then it's like you can accomplish the job. And then the Tanto, like that corner of the knife, I gotta say, it's actually kind of nice because you can use it as almost like a point to sort of, it helps with the follow through when you're cutting, slicing like this. So that's actually a nice feature, it turns out. Yeah. And then it's so wide, you can kind of use it as a spatula to move your food. I am pleasantly surprised by the Red Guardian right now. Imagine that. That's good. And I'll get this last bit. Being very sloppy right now. I just don't want you to have to sit through this if you're bored. Wow. So there is some utility to this thing after all. And, well, I just have the one onion left and it's got plague on it. So, yeah, I'm not even going to use it. Okay. Well, that was the Red Guardian, the cultural appropriation knife, and that thing. Moving on. Now for the eggs, we're going to make some, got an orange and a green pepper that I'm going to cut up and saute. Peppers are really great for a lot of things. So I think that I'm going to use a very special knife on these. You're out in the jungle, you're battling drug lords in Colombia. You need the Colombian survival machete. This thing has a massive saw back. There's this hole in the front that you can use to, like, I'm guessing you can hang it on the wall from there. And it's got sort of this saber type handle. Let's see how it works against peppers. So first I'm gonna make an incision. I guess I'll try slicing. A little rough, but it got through. Oh my God. It's awful. Wow. What a blade. I guess maybe the reason I had such a rough time right there is because I'm not really using it properly, am I? So machetes are made to slash through foliage. Something like this. Okay. It just bounced right off the pepper. Let's try that again. A little more force, perhaps. Oh, shit. I just put a big crack in the cutting board. That was loud too. I wonder if my next door neighbor might have heard that. Okay, well, obviously that's the effective way to go about using the Colombian survival machete to prepare your breakfast. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna cut up the rest of these things and hope for the best. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm hoping to get small, kind of stringy, sort of lengthy slices, let's say, because that goes pretty well with eggs. I guess we'll start with the tops. Okay, made it through. Oh, it's hard to control, like how hard you actually come down slicing it. I mean, it slices, but it's more like it just sort of pushes through it. And I gotta do this with like my elbow kind of cocked all the way back. And these pieces are coming out pretty rough. Oh boy. Let me double up maybe. You know, in the movie Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, there's a scene where Casey Jones is preparing a meal using one of Leonardo's katana blades, and he sort of does this rocking motion. Can I? No, these pieces are coming out pretty mutilated. Oh God. I just got squirted. All right. I'm kind of curious about how the sawback might perform. So let me try these. Well, it certainly makes an interesting noise, and it just tore the shit out of the pepper. Oh, man. This thing looks like it was already digested. All right, I'm gonna go back to the blade and just kind of quickly, if I can, get through. This is a lot of work. Cooking is usually a pleasant experience, but okay. Wow. And the sawback is like just full of pulp from these peppers, and it's just glistening with the victim's innards. Okay, I can kind of do half and half like that, sort of. Oh, here we go. Well, that worked for a little bit. Got a nice pile here. It's so front heavy. It's like hurting my wrist. Okay. Well, these pieces are way bigger than I wanted, but I think if I just cook the hell out of them, they might shrink a little bit. The Colombian survival machete is not made for precision, that's for sure. Jesus, this is just ridiculous. Do I really have to go through all that again? I'm going to try to go faster this time, now that I've kind of felt out this blade and what it's capable of. Okay. Strategy here, I think, will be to try to slice it this way. sort of tears. But it's faster. The pieces I'm getting definitely are interesting. This is real artisan work here. Wow. Okay. Well, this has been a real adventure. The Red Guardian was definitely the star of the show so far, in my opinion. At least in terms of its surprisingly good performance. Come on, you bastard. Oh, okay. There's like a dull part up here I can use to sort of push it down. It doesn't really slice. It's more of a... It's almost a bludgeoning effect. It's very rough. And like I said, I'm usually a lot more sophisticated about the way I cut food. There's juices leaking through this crack that I've put to the top here. Almost there. Oh. Last cut. And just for good measure, I'll use the saw back. That worked, I guess. Oh, what a mess. Okay. Peppers are done. Next ingredient on the menu, sun-dried tomatoes. I'm gonna cut these up a little bit. They will also be going into the eggs. And to do this, it requires a bit of finesse, a little bit of fine workmanship. So I'm gonna use the Houdini bear. If I can get the blade out. Arrgh. That is really stiff. So I got the blade shooting out of the bear's mouth. I call it the Houdini bear because when I got it, it actually escaped from its box. I had the little box inside the larger package, and the little box was empty. The bear was just sort of floating around in the packaging and the popcorn. So that's where its name comes from. All right, let me plop out a bunch of these. I like sun-dried tomatoes. They're just so big that you kind of do need to cut them up quite a bit to get them into a nice omelet. All right, that looks like it might be enough. All right. Slice. Okay. I mean, it's doing the job. Sun-dried tomatoes are very fleshy, so this is a simulation of what the knife might do to you if you wanted to go, you know, Dahmer, make a Dahmer-style meal. Donner, not Dahmer. Not Jeffrey Dahmer. Not that guy. I mean the family that ate each other. Okay, well, it's doing the job. So this segment could get boring because you'll just be watching me slice up these sun-dried tomatoes with ease. So let's retire Houdini. Find something a little more interesting. Now I'm going to do a little comparison here using the same materials. I'm going to try the Ozark Trail $1 pocket knife and the Dollar Tree $1 camping knife. Start with the Dollar Tree knife. It took me a long time to get this knife. I've seen other people This does not slice as well. It sort of tears a little bit. I've seen reviews and videos of about this knife for quite a while, and I live kind of near-ish to a Dollar Tree, and they didn't have any. They didn't even have like a spot for them, so I guess they don't stock them. So I sort of gave up, and then some months later, I spotted it in another Dollar Tree, and I was really happy because, yeah, I love collecting these crappy knives, and, you know, as you know, and I always wanted to do it right. I could have gone online somewhere, maybe someone was selling them on eBay or something, but that's just not the right way to do it. You got to find it naturally. That's the way you do it. So I ended up buying like 5 of them because they are so bad that, like, they can break in your hand, or I don't know. It's a collector's thing, I guess. I wanted to have, you know, one to take out and play with, and one to keep in the packaging, and then a few extra just in case, I don't know, I do something interesting where I push it to its limits and end up breaking one of these. I got plenty. Also, I was just so ecstatic that I found them, I just went hog wild and bought a bunch of them. Got some strange looks. They were like, what are you doing? What are you planning? But it seems to be working just fine. I'm using the very tip of the blade. It's got serrations almost all the way down, which I'm not utilizing. Okay. Oh, that's the Dollar Tree camping knife. Now let's see how the Ozark Trail knife goes. Now this knife I have a very long history with. It's very simple in its construction, and it's one of the most heavily reviewed knives on YouTube, I think. Okay. The knife just literally fell apart in my hands. Wow. That, I think we have a surprising winner, the underdog, the Dollar Tree knife. I mean, that thing, I put a little bit of pressure on it, and it just, you saw that, it was just like, completely fell apart. Well, I suppose I can still try to use the blade part just for the evaluation. And it's, I guess I would say so far it's about the same. It sort of tears a little bit more than slices. Wow. I kind of wasn't expecting that. I mean, how could I have expected this thing just to fall apart like that? That is truly amazing. Jeez. Well, if nothing else, that was at least entertaining. Oh, all right. And for the last couple, I think I'll bust out a little one. Maybe you've seen this before. It is the Vietnam commemorative stubby little knife. The Vietnam veteran, 1954 to 1975 Speed Demon. It's a little awkward to use because of how small it is, but using that corner part, it does pretty well. There's just a lot of force focused down into that one area. It is difficult to use because it's just, it's too small, kind of. Okay, well, I am getting through it. Come on. And then you can use the other flat, the sort of flat part here as a way to kind of shovel it along. Oh, okay. I just kind of punched through it. Yeah, that works. All right. Well, we've got to feature a few knives on that one. Sun-dried tomatoes are ready. And finally, the tomatoes. I know it might sound a little strange to have sun-dried and un-sun-dried tomatoes together in an omelet, but it works pretty well. So, I got 5 of these. I'm gonna start with the RoboCop knife. It's a little stiff. Yeah, we got partial serrations. I did a review on this knife once before. It's a part of the Ozark Trail collection, so I'll let you go back and see everything about it. But just so that I can really see what I'm doing, I am going to activate the light that's on it. That's one of my favorite features. So let's go ahead and make our first cut. I'll cut through there pretty easily. I mean, it is a tomato. There's not a whole lot to it. And I'm just gonna do a lateral incision and then start cutting it this way. This is working pretty well. I'm gonna make little thin slices. I am going to make a lot of omelets because we love eggs. We ate so many eggs, and so we just kind of make a whole bunch of them, eat them through the week. All right, yeah, it's not that terrible for this kind of work. So if you had this out, you know, in a camping kind of environment, you could do some food prep with it. If you're cutting tomatoes. I don't know how it would work with other stuff. Maybe that's another project for another time. Pick one knife and just do a crap ton of food prep with the one knife. Oh, that's kind of boring though. I like a little bit of variety. Get to see what falls apart and what doesn't. Well, this is going swimmingly so far. Haven't had anything break. Haven't had anything catastrophic. I haven't cut myself. That 5-pointed star one, Jesus. I really thought that I was gonna cut myself using that one. Let's see if I might be able to hurt myself if I go a little faster. It's not that it's a goal, but I do want to push these knives a little bit to see, you know, see what their limits are. Okay, so that wasn't that bad. This one did cut and slice through these tomatoes, but I'm having too easy of a time. I need a challenge. So I'm going to be using the Frost Cutlery Tanto Hunter. This knife comes in zombie green, and it has one of the most interesting blade shapes I have ever seen. It is a fucking monster. It's got a saw style serrations, I guess. Holes that are put in kind of random spots. And it says Zombie Hunter with a green skull and crossbones. Oh no, that's not a skull and crossbones. Well, that's interesting. I never really noticed this before. It's a skull with like a biohazard symbol. Well, that's creative. I guess I'll try using the saw part to mangle my way through this food. you can feel the difference. This is pretty rough. It is sort of a tanto, that part with the random holes. Yeah, it's doing it. It's getting through, but it is rough. I guess those holes kind of streamline it. It's like an aerodynamics thing, maybe. That helps it get through with ease. Bloodletting holes, perhaps. I am seeing a lot more juice escaping the fleshy tomato than I did with the other knife. Oh, God. It's getting a little rough here. But I think I've got enough. I'm going to save these other tomatoes. I am going to be making burgers using bison meat. But I'm not going to call them bison burgers. I'm going to call them bison burgers, because that just sounds so much more appetizing. Well, there we have it. The zombie hunter / tanto hunter. You can use it to hunt other tantos. All right. Okay, well, I got through it. This whole experience was actually kind of a bit tougher than I expected. This was not easy, especially that machete. Holy crap. The Red Guardian, I think, was the clear winner. That knife performed admirably, and I found a couple of nice features about the blade, which I totally didn't expect at all. I want to hate that knife, but every time I pick it up, I just find more reasons to love it. And so I'm going to declare the Red Guardian as the winner of tonight's cooking, even though it didn't perform the best necessarily. I mean, the Kissing Crane knife sliced through things because it's a thin machined piece of steel. The Walmart knife was the biggest disappointment because it fell apart. I mean, I hear people say all the time, oh, the knife, it's so terrible, it just falls apart in your hand. I've never actually experienced that before. So this was a really good experience overall for me to put these knives to the test, doing kitchen tasks, and I learned a few things. So that was great. Thanks for joining me. This has been JJJinks, truckstop DINES. Now I gotta cook all that shit.